Welcome to the Just Live podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Stevens, and I'm inviting you in on my personal journey of learning and discovering how to live a life with more connection, joy, and purpose. I'll be sitting down with people from all walks of life to dive into topics including trauma, mental health, mindfulness, the nuances of love and relationships, and much more. I hope these conversations empower you to expand on what serves you, release what doesn't, and just live. Welcome back to the Just Live podcast. It's been a minute. I'm feeling okay today. I'm your host, Olivia Stevens. You can call me Liv. And let's see, where do I begin? It's been like a month and a half since I put an episode out. I think as the year is kind of coming to a close, we're almost to November now. I don't know. I feel like I just want to exhale. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. It felt like this year was a lot more challenging than I was ever expecting it to be. Real estate was very challenging. Relationships, friendships challenged me. And my mental health really challenged me, and how I relate to myself and my emotions and how I identify with them really came up a lot, in a lot of heaviness that I felt throughout the year, and some really low valleys that when you're down in, it feels like getting out of them is such an obscure concept and so hard to imagine when you're in the moment and feeling such heaviness. And that's just my journey with and through depression, and something I try not to significantly identify with. Everyone's experience is completely different, so that is just kind of how I am working on approaching it right now. But yeah, so I wanted to talk today about the idea or the notion or the act of forgiveness and what it means to forgive, why we forgive, how can we forgive. This kind of came up recently in a conversation I was having with somebody. Maybe it was with myself. I don't remember. I have a lot of those. Anyway, I think I was asking myself, or somebody else was asking me, have you forgiven your ex? And I think a lot of people can probably relate to this in one way or another. I mean, most of us are navigating relationships in some way, breakups, etc. And for anyone that's new or just jumping on, I went through a breakup that ended because of infidelity, and it was very unexpected, and it wasn't discovered or revealed to me through my partner. It was told to me by the third person, so kind of, I don't know, in my mind it's like a little bit, it adds this other layer of betrayal, you know, instead of someone coming to you and being forthright and honest. Anyway, so I guess I was asking myself, have I forgiven my ex for what happened? And it's not a black or white answer. I think there are parts of me that have forgiven. I think there are parts of me that have compassion, that understand, parts of me that are even grateful that this experience happened. But then I know there is still probably other parts of me that are still angry, that do feel betrayed, that feel taken advantage of, that feel like I wasn't valued in the relationship, like my time, my energy, my love, my commitment wasn't valued. The love and energy that I gave his son wasn't valued. But with, as far as forgiveness goes, what does it even mean to forgive? For me, I guess I think about, what feelings am I carrying or holding on to? So, as far as my ex is concerned, there are feelings of betrayal and anger and hurt and resentment and mistrust. I think when you really break it down, at the core of all of those feelings is fear. There's a fear of some kind that maybe this person never loved me. There's a fear that I could be thinking that, wow, maybe I am not lovable in the future. It really just comes down to fear in my eyes. There feels like some threat to who you are, your identity. When you go through a breakup, your identity completely changes. I think in some experiences or some breakups, your identity can really change and evolve. Breakups can crack you open, and if you're lucky, you are able to witness parts of yourself that maybe need more love, parts of yourself that need to grow, parts of yourself that need to heal. There could be this fear of what's next. When you go through a breakup, there can be a lot of unknowns. You're so used to having somebody in your life that does really contribute and make up a massive part of who you are and this identity that you've grown into, that you've created. And so stripping that away is scary. It's like, who am I now? And part of the resentment or anger that you're holding on to is this identity that you're maybe holding on to as well. And I think so many of us sometimes can catch ourselves in this like victim mentality because it's a way of us identifying with something, and it's something that we hold on to, and it's like, who are we without this? I think it's kind of our ego's way of like staying safe or feeling important or feeling self-righteous or feeling like our life has meaning or the things that we've gone through have some sort of meaning. I think a lot of people have a challenge with forgiveness because it feels as though when you are forgiving somebody, you're somehow condoning the behavior or saying or insinuating that the behavior or the action or whatever it is that somebody did is somehow okay. But it's really not about what happened. What's important is releasing yourself from it, because it's just keeping you stuck in the past. And really, the whole point of living is to grow and find inner peace and joy, at least in my mind. If you're continually harboring emotions like anger and resentment, how can you feel peace? How can you grow? Those feelings are keeping you stuck in the past and stuck where this wrongdoing occurred. So you're really only hurting yourself. I think it's really about releasing kind of the emotional burden that you're carrying. Think of all of the feelings that you carry around every day because of this and who that's affecting. For anyone watching that has noticed the massive change in lighting, it's because there is one. I finished recording this episode and then I realized somebody called me during the recording and it stopped recording halfway through. So I was talking for another 15 minutes and it wasn't recorded. So why? Anyway, back to forgiveness. I'm going to forgive the person that called me and interrupted the recording. Anyway, I think I was talking about the emotions that we carry when we feel like somebody's wronged us, and how really carrying those negative emotions only affects ourselves and the people that are directly around us. So if we're carrying anger and resentment, we're going to be emitting those emotions and those frequencies. I'm a huge believer in energy and frequency, and I think like attracts like. And if you have hatred and anger and resentment and frustration in you, that's what you're going to continue to attract, because that's what you're emitting. And There's that famous quote where it says, like, hate erodes the vessel that carries it. I also believe that when you're holding on to these emotions and this resentment and this anger, that it's probably making you sick, whether that's emotionally, physically, or both. You know, emotions are energy. And if you're not releasing it and forgiving someone, you're going to carry it with you and it's going to build up and it could manifest in a number of ways. And that could be illness or stress or, chronic pain or fatigue. It could be any number of things. I'm not a doctor or a psychologist. That's just something I believe in. Aside from that, just like the overall like effect on your mood and your outlook on life, how can you approach each day leading with love and peace and joy if you're feeling anger, if you're stuck in the past, if you're frustrated, if you have resentment, if you have sadness? Those two just can't go together. You're really only affecting yourself, causing yourself stress and anxiety, and you're keeping yourself stuck in the past. Like, how can you possibly continue to grow and evolve if you are stuck in the past, harboring on past events or past feelings? So I started reading this book called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And funny enough, I just went through a chapter that talked about forgiveness. And so I highlighted some things that I thought would be relevant to share. A return to love is about the practice of love as a strength and not a weakness, as a daily answer to the problems that confront us. This book is written as a guide to the miraculous application of love as a balm on every wound. Whether our pain is in the area of relationships, health, career, or elsewhere, love is a potent force, the cure, the answer. She says, love is what we're born with. Fear is what we have learned here. The spiritual journey is the relinquishment or unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. Love is the essential existential fact. It is our ultimate reality and our purpose on earth. To be consciously aware of it, to experience love in ourselves and others, is the meaning of life. Love isn't material. It's energy. It's the feeling in a room, a situation, a person. Money can't buy it. Sex doesn't guarantee it. It has nothing at all to do with the physical world, but it can be expressed nonetheless. We experience it as kindness, giving, mercy, compassion, peace, joy, acceptance, non-judgment, joining, and intimacy. Fear is our shared lovelessness. When fear is expressed, we recognize it as anger, abuse, disease, pain, greed, addiction, selfishness, obsession, corruption, violence, and war. Forgiveness is the key to inner peace because it is the mental technique by which our thoughts are transformed from fear to love. Our perceptions of other people often become a battleground between the ego's desire to judge and our higher self's desire to accept people as they are. The ego is the great fault finder. It seeks out the faults in ourselves and others. The places in our personality where we tend to deviate from love are not our faults, but our wounds. The universe doesn't want to punish us, but to heal us. And that is how it wishes us to view the wounds in other people. Forgiveness is selective remembering, a conscious decision to focus on love and let the rest go. But the ego is relentless. It is capable of suspiciousness at best and viciousness at worst. It presents the most subtle and insidious arguments for casting other people out of our hearts. It's easy to forgive people who have never done anything to make us angry. People who do make us angry, however, are our most important teachers. They indicate the limits to our capacity for forgiveness. The decision to let go of our grievances against other people is the decision to see ourselves as we truly are, because any darkness we let blind us to another's perfection also blinds us to our own. It can be very hard to let go of your perception of someone's guilt or wrongdoing when you know that by every standard of ethics, morality, or integrity, you're right to find fault with them. but do you prefer to be right or to be happy? There have been times when I have had a very hard time giving up my judgment of someone, mentally protesting, but I'm right. I felt as though giving up my judgment amounted to condoning their behavior. I felt, well, somebody's got to uphold the principle in this world. If we just forgive things all the time, then all the standards of excellence will disintegrate. But the universe doesn't need us to police the universe. Shaking our finger at someone doesn't help them change. If anything, our perception of someone's guilt or wrongdoing only keeps them stuck in it. When we are shaking a finger at someone, figuratively or literally, we are not more apt to correct their wrongful behavior. Treating someone with compassion and forgiveness is much more likely to elicit a healed response. People are less likely to be defensive and more likely to be open to correction. Most of us are aware on some level when we're off. We'd be doing things differently if we knew how. We don't need attack at this point, we need help. Forgiveness forges a new context, one in which someone can more easily change. Forgiveness is the choice to see people as they are now. When we are angry at people, we are angry because of something they said or did before this moment. But what people said or did is not who they are. Relationships are reborn as we let go perceptions of people's past. By bringing the past into the present, we create a future just like the past. By letting go of the past, we make room for miracles. How do we escape judgment? Largely through a reinterpretation of what we're judging. In our right minds, we don't seek to judge but to heal, and we do this through forgiveness. When someone has behaved unlovingly, when they yell at us, lie about us, lie to us, or steal from us, they have lost touch with their essence. They have forgotten who they are. But everything that someone does is either love or a call for love. If someone treats us with love, then of course love is the appropriate response. If they treat us with fear, we are to see their behavior as a call for love. All negativity derives from fear. When someone is angry, they are afraid. When someone is rude, they are afraid. When someone is manipulative, they are afraid. When someone is cruel, they are afraid. Darkness is merely the absence of light, and fear is merely the absence of love. We can't get rid of darkness by hitting it with a baseball bat because there's nothing to hit. If we want to be rid of darkness, we must turn on the light. Similarly, if we want to be rid of fear, we cannot fight it, but we must replace it with love. The choice to love is not always easy. There is no fear that love does not dissolve. There is no negativity that forgiveness does not transform. I love all of that, and a lot of times when I'm evaluating my own behavior, my choices, I try to remind myself to ask myself, is this coming from love or from fear? Am I making this choice out of love or am I making this choice out of fear? I think one last thought I will add, if you're having a hard time forgiving someone or letting something go, remember a time when somebody forgave you. We are not perfect. We all make mistakes. I've made many mistakes. But remember a time where somebody showed you compassion and grace and acted out of love and not out of fear. And just carry that with you the next time you feel like you've been wronged or someone's hurt you. Responding with love over fear is always going to achieve a much more beautiful outcome. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. I'm going to do my best to be a little more consistent. I think I need to give myself a little bit of forgiveness and compassion. This can be a whole other episode on self-sabotage, but I think a lot of fear creeps in, for all of us if we're doing something that feels uncomfortable or vulnerable or new, or it feels like there's something that you're trying that you don't feel very skilled at or good at, or you're comparing yourself to other people that are doing it. And I kind of let a lot of those feelings get the best of me, which is why I think is part of the reason I am so inconsistent with the podcast sometimes, because I do let fear take over. But I'm working on that, and I really want to say thank you to anyone that has listened to it, that's shared it with somebody, that's reached out to me. I think this has been the longest period of time between episodes, and the longer I wait to put something out, the more kind of discouraged and hard on myself I am. But it's so funny how just in the last couple of weeks, when I haven't put out any new episodes, there have been so many people that have, reached out to me and said that they've listened to an episode or that they heard my podcast and have shared with me how it's resonated with them, or shared with me something they found interesting. So that is kind of, I guess, the universe's way of nudging me back to it, I suppose. So thank you to anyone that has listened and reaches out to me. It really means a lot. But anyway, please, if you haven't already, review or rate the podcast. Give it 5 stars if you feel so kind. Share it with a friend. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's how I grow the podcast and how I can continue to share what I'm experiencing in hopes of reaching others and making them feel not so alone in this world, because this is a really lonely and scary place sometimes. So thank you. I appreciate you, and be kind. Take care.